Today on Riffs, Beards, and Gear, we talk about some of my favorite high-gain guitar tones and how they were created. As a guitar player and just kind of gear nerd, I am always drawn to, initially at least, the guitar tones for any metal or hard rock album that I hear. So I have compiled 7 of my favorite high-gain guitar tones and how they were created. Album number 1, Parkway Drive's Reverence album. This is a recent release within the last year, and when I spoke to Josh Wilbur at a NAMM party back in January, he told me he was shocked when he was told that the guitar tones on this album were 100% Kemper. That's right, all of the guitar tones on this album are Kemper, and they are not typical of a Kemper tone, meaning they don't have that high-end sizzly thing. And he told me he basically didn't do anything to the guitars, or hardly anything to the guitars at all. And from what I can find, the main rhythm guitar tracks were a combination of a Mesa Boogie, a dual rectifier, a PV5150, and a Splon, all mixed together and then profiled, and they used the profiler for the entirety of the album. Album number 2, Lost Forever, Lost Together, from the Mighty Architects. Now, all of the rhythm guitar tones on this amazing sounding album were quad-tracked, believe it or not, and they were a combination of an EVH 5153 and a dual rectifier and maybe a little bit of some sort of angle, according to producer Heinrich Oud. Now, this album still holds up today. It's not even that old. It's like 4 years old at this point at the time of taping of this video, but I just went back and revisited it, and it sounds every bit as huge as I remember it sounding. Album number 3, The End of Heartache, from Killswitch Engage. I have always loved the songs in this album, and sonically, it was just mind-blowing at the time. The guitar tones were just another level, and they still hold up today. They sound absolutely massive, courtesy of producer and mix engineer Andy Sneap, and the guitar tones, generally speaking, were made using a blend of Adam D's 5150 with a Framus Cobra. Now, fun fact, the very last song to be reamped was the Rose of Sharon, and the guitar tone on that song sounds different from all of the other songs, and the reason for that was the Framus Cobra had actually died right before tracking for the song began, so Adam D had to hurry up and just find some kind of similar amp to blend with the PV5150, and he used the Framus Dragon, which is similar but not quite the same as the Framus Cobra, and that is why the guitar tone for that one song on that one album is different from all the rest. Album number 4, Dead Heart in a Dead World, from Nevermore. This guitar tone is in my top 3 of all time. It's so chunky and so harmonically rich. Just a stunning album, song-wise, but sonically, it's just still mind-blowing when I listened to it just yesterday, in fact. The guitar tones on this album were created with Andy Sneap and Jeff Loomis, and it was Jeff Loomis with a 7-string guitar plugging into basically a Maxon overdrive into a rack mount Mesa Boogie dual rectifier that would make it a Blackface Rev F 2-channel dual rectifier into a Marshall Greenback equipped 412, according to Jeff. And that's basically all it was. It was nothing simple. And when I asked Jeff about this, he said, yeah, we just really didn't think too much about it. We plugged it in, sounded great, and that's kind of what we went with. And that was that. Simple and effective. Album number 5, Nola, the first album from Down. Now, there wasn't much thought gone into the recording process of this album as I understand it. And basically the guys rolled in their live rigs, being Pepper Keenan from Corrosion of Conformity and Kirk Weinstein from Crowbar. And basically it was the amp tone was a blend of Randall RG100 solid state head given to him by Dimebag, boosted with a Boss Metal Zone clean setting, and Pepper's 50 cal plus Mesa Boogie head, and those amps went into Marshall 412 cabinets loaded with T75 or greenbacks, depending on who you ask, and that was the album tone. And it has a very unique spin on kind of like, there's a lot of mid-range going on this tone, but I've always loved it. Has its own thing going, and man, I could listen to it all day long. Album number 6, Black Gives Way to Blue from Alice in Chains. Now, I wanted to pick Dirt, but A being them, I love the Black Gives Way to Blue tone just a little bit more. And typical of all great guitar tones, there is not one amp that Jerry Cantrell used for this album. In typical Cantrell style, he blended a lot of different amps at any given time for the album tones, but generally he was blending a Friedman Marcia with some kind of a Bogner, with some kind of a Mesa Boogie, with some kind of God knows what else. But there was a lot of amplifiers on this album, so basically, depending on the part of the song, they just pushed those faders up and then pulled them back down if something wasn't wanted or needed. Album number 7, Around the Fur from the Deftones. Now, the second album from the Deftones came out, I believe, 1997-ish, and it was a pivotal moment for me personally with understanding guitar tones and identifying what I liked at the time, and this album was everything I wanted my own guitar tone to be. It was huge, it was abrasive, it was cutting, it was tight, and it was all courtesy of an ADA MP1 preamp going into a Marshall 9200 power amp. And at that time, Steph Carpenter was using a Seymour Duncan JBs in his 6 and 7 string guitars. I believe he was primarily on 6 strings still at this time. He didn't really go to 7 strings until White Pony, but that was basically his in-studio setup and his live setup as well. And Terry Day has stated on many occasions that the guitar tone on Around the Fur basically has nothing on it at all as far as post EQ or processing. Everything you're hearing is more or less how it was captured in the room at the time. Pretty cool. And that does it for 7 of my favorite high gain guitar tones and how they were created. What are some of your guys' favorite high gain guitar tones? I would love to hear what you guys are into as well. Leave them down below in the comments. Let's maybe make a follow-up video. More high gain guitar tones. You've been wonderful. I've been Fluff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.